And I'm ready.
I'm not sure. You should have seen that video. They got him landing that thing at the auction. Thing bigger than the parking lot.
Yeah.
Take a breath, Mr. Secretary. Take
Oh,
a breath.
I'm running. I sleep 4 hours every night, 24/7. And that's what you guys need to know this.
Are you looking for a part-time job?
I have 3 full-time jobs.
Just kidding.
I actually have 3 full-time jobs. My official duties
You probably do.
and everything. Yeah, so I'm telling you. But this is what I'm telling you. You will never find a Secretary of State who has the passion, the drive, the energy than Diego Morales.
Well, you're our guy, man.
Thank you for that.
You're our guy.
All right, you ready, Kyle?
Sure. Yep. Welcome, everybody. If you see, we've got, our usual Panera over here. There's some small bottles of water as well in the back, so help yourself if you're hungry or thirsty. I know we're starting a little late today, but I think we've got a lot of ground to cover and I'm looking forward to the discussion. So, with that, Secretary, do you have anything you want to start us off with?
Oh, absolutely. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And again, thank you for being here today. I appreciate the continued partnership, collaboration from members of the Motor Vehicle Advisory Board and our industry partners across Indiana. This legislative session was a very positive one for our office and for our Auto Dealer Services Division. While we did not get everything we wanted this year, we did not get everything we wanted, but we're going to come back next session to work on that. We made meaningful progress, and we will continue working with lawmakers and stakeholders on additional priorities moving forward. Kegan, he's an attorney in our office, he's our legislative policy director, will go over here in a few. One area we continue to focus is on strengthening interagency cooperation to better protect consumers and support compliance efforts across Indiana. We recently signed a memorandum of understanding with DOR, the Department of Revenue, to help enforce outstanding tax warrants. In addition, our office is actively engaged in discussing with DOR and the BMV to address the so-called Montana loophole. You all know about that. You guys are the experts in this industry. Our office continues to see a significant increase on activities and enforcement related work. Through the end of April, we have received 525 complaints, which is about 20% higher than this time last year. As I always tell everybody, we have no control on that, who files those complaints. Our team is monitoring these complaints closely and working through them as quickly and efficient as possible. We are also excited about the continued progress on modernizing efforts with our Auto Dealer Services Division. Right now, we are targeting a summer launch, and we believe these upgrades will improve efficiency and customer service for dealers and Hoosiers all across the state. We are gearing up for our fair season. My outreach team is going to be all corners of the state, hopefully all 92 counties, at local county fairs, promoting your industry, promoting the Auto Dealer Services Division and the work that we're doing on your behalf. I am also excited about the Great Indiana State Fair. Everyone knows that's my favorite time of the year, to spend as much time in the State Fair, because we get to promote our office, not only the Auto Industry Division, but also our Business Services, Securities Division, and of course, elections, because we must register as many eligible Hoosiers, and we get to do that at the State Fair. Also, I want to invite each of you to come and visit our office. You all are welcome. We're open at 7 a.m. every single morning, 7 a.m. No one opens the doors at 7 a.m. except Diego Morales, and we would love to welcome you there. So, and by the way, we're here for you. You're not alone. You have a partner in the Secretary of State's office. You have a partner on Diego Morales. I believe I have not missed a meeting. This is my 4th year as Secretary of State, and I have not missed a meeting. Why? Because it's so important to me. I like to show up. And hopefully people will write that somewhere, right? But good things is never shows up on the media when Diego Morales arrives before 5 a.m. in the State House to do some work. But I appreciate you all. Thank you for your dedication to this board. We are grateful to every single one of you. Keep up the good work, and I'll hand it over to Kyle.
Thank you, Secretary. First item on the agenda is a review of the November 19th, 2025 minutes. We actually don't have quorum. In lieu of voting to approve on them, if anyone has any comments or questions about those minutes, we can take those now and then sort of address it in our next meeting. Any issues? Excellent. We can take care of that next week. Next, we've got Keegan to talk about the 2026 legislative session.
Thank you, Kyle. Obviously, we worked hard during the last legislative session with it not being budget session. A few of our items did not make it across the finish line. One of the bigger ones that we were working on, adding the auto dealer service division to the DCS lien list, as well as the DCS lien list. Because of the fiscal impact that would have, we weren't able to get that through. So we were disappointed about that. We did get the transport operator location requirements in statute. We did have a new requirement for dealers to keep a copy of driver's license, ID, proof of corporate entity, and a deal jacket for purchaser. So we did get that across the finish line. Some other things we were working on with the independent dealers related to sort of revamping the training requirements that we put in a few years ago. We weren't able to get that in this session with it being a short session, but we'll continue working with them in future years on that. So that's all I have.
Anyone questions or anything on session? I think we've talked about it a lot, so.
Chris in there, so it's probably pretty quick.
Yep.
Oh.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Keegan. Next, we've got, I want to talk about the draft policy that I circulated or we circulated to you folks in the past couple of weeks. We've been working on this for some time. Sort of tied into, I'm sure you guys saw the news or heard about this through your industry groups, but a couple months ago, the FTC sent out letters to 95 dealership groups, which they did not want to identify specifically, but regardless, there was a nationwide sort of canvassing related to advertising policy and how the FTC views the FTC Act and its relation to motor vehicle advertising practices. Obviously, we also have a similar statute in state law. There's two similar statutes, one of which is enforced by the Attorney General's office, and our own statute in 932, which is enforced by our division, related to misleading or deceptive advertising. So I circulated, and so we came up with this draft for one particular reason, which is to sort of give dealers insight into our thinking and thought process with relation to advertising of motor vehicles. So this is not something that's new. This is not a new interpretation. This is not anything that's going to change how we enforce any of these statutes. The idea is we've got a lot of questions from dealers in the last couple of years with how things can be presented online. Sometimes they may or may not be given conflicting information from the OAG's office, which through no fault of anyone's own, it's just they're different statutes and they might be viewed differently. Anecdotally, we've also just seen in the last 6 to 9 months a serious increase in people not advertising the doc fee itself, which is to me, the most obvious part of this enforcement is the doc fee, but there's other things as you see in the policy. And so the point of this was to give dealers basically a visual example of how we think about our statutes, and to give them fair heads up on what we're looking at when we do, take a look at the advertising. We get a complaint related to the cost of the vehicle versus what they ended up paying for it. And not only on the dealer side as well, but also on the consumer side. When a consumer comes to us and say, this is what we consider to be the advertised price on an advertisement. This is how we view the doc fee being advertised, rebates, offers, things like that. So the main crux of this is in my view, and this also it seems to be based on what and to go back to the FTC for a moment, Jared and I both sat in on a call, a webinar with, hosted by the FTC and NADA, related to these letters that FTC has circulated throughout the country. And, you know, for what it's worth, we are very much in lockstep with how, the FTC looks at these issues, particularly with, respect to the advertised price, you know, being the most prominent price on the advertisement. And then basing on that, you know, you can't say, you know, the doc fee is its own thing, but like, you know, you can see in the examples that we've included in the policy, but this is how we're going to be thinking about it, or this is how we think about it. This is how we're going to enforce it. And if there, you know, with that, I'd like to open it up for discussion with you guys. And see what your guys' initial takes are. You know, we're not doing anything today. We want to open this up for discussion with the idea that we'll put this out there for the next few months and then ultimately finalize it hopefully at our next meeting based on feedback we get from you guys or anyone else in the industry.
So I think, you know, like with GM employee pricing, it sounds like we have a GM plan. Yeah, you have to make it clear that you must be a GM employee to accept that. And so the way I look at it, as long as you clearly post what a rebate attributes to with the offer. In other words, you don't have, like you said, you have to go 4 different pages deep to find out. You know, that's about the only way to do some of these because there are multiple discounts based on, you know, if you served in the military, if you did this, if you did that. And even though you try to offer your best advice, you want people to know, hey, in case you might qualify for one of these, and here's how you qualify, but you have to be clear on the front page, if you want to call it, how you qualify for those rebates and not make it difficult, not make it seem like, oh, you just bring them in with that number and they go, no, you don't qualify for 4 out of 5 or something.
Yeah, and that's something else we've seen a lot recently too. And it was one of the contributing factors to why we sort of drafted this policy is we've seen, you know, if you look at, for example,
I'm looking at this one right here.
yeah,
Got like 5 of them.
exactly. Yeah, that's actually the one, the stat discounts is what we're
Right.
calling it, where there's an MSRP and then everything's the same size below it, discount, trade guarantee, national retail bonus cash, 25 national bonus cash. You know, if every customer will qualify for those to get to that bottom line number, then that's fine.
Right.
But if there are conditions on it, if it's like you said earlier, if it's got to be a Tuesday in March and that's the only day it's good for, and they come in on a Wednesday, they're not going to qualify, that could be seen as misleading. So that is actually something we're seeing more frequently, and particularly with, you know, trade guarantees.
Like Costco for those kind of things. So the key would be, how can we advertise those and let customers know you might be eligible for these, but clearly identify that they have to qualify for those and not do it in a way that, oh, anybody can buy for that price, right? It doesn't do us any good either, right? We don't want somebody coming in and finding out that they're $3,000 higher in price, and that's just not how we do. We don't try to bait and switch.
Yeah.
So like I told you earlier, I would rather have it be a very transparent playing field, because then the people that really do the best job win.
Yep.
But that's one of the biggest challenges that we face as they change these rebates constantly. How do we let customers know what's out there? Then, for instance, on a train, here's the price, here's what you might qualify for, but you know, it might be good if we had guidance to say, okay, here, you know, what would make this ad acceptable? Would the size of the numbers be different? The explanations clear that every rebate requires something.
Yeah.
So the customers can say, yeah, okay, I qualify for 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. Otherwise, they won't know that there's actually up to $6,000 in rebates, but the manufacturer doesn't make it easy, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I understand there's certainly sometimes some tension there between the dealer and the OEM when it comes to what's, you know, we've had dealers tell us that, the manufacturer controls every aspect of our advertising platform or whatever the case may be. And I don't know how true that is. That's part of the discussion I wanted to have with you guys.
Well, so we whenever we do digital advertising, every morning, we have to get every manufacturer to buy off on that ad every day.
Yeah.
So my daughter does that. She gets at 5:30, and it's ridiculous. I mean, they're trying to combat deceptive advertising, basically, or discounting, you know, discounts that aren't probably realistic, but and part of it is trying to meet all these particular requirements so that your advertised price if you're gonna advertise online, that's the biggest challenge because there might be somebody in Missouri that advertises, Laura Buick or whatever, advertise 12,000 off in a Buick and it's impossible. There's no way you're losing $6,000.
Yeah.
But that might get somebody to drive from Indiana to Missouri to go try to buy a car. When they get there, they find out, oh gee, and I don't know if their laws are different or what, but we run into that all the time.
Well, and on that point, I mean, I think that's something that the FTC is really focused on, and that's something
Right.
they spent a decent amount of time, talking about was, the impossible discounts. I haven't really seen anything crazy like that in Indiana, I will say. I think by and large, I think Indiana dealers do a really good job.
Right.
With
We
price,
just need
with
good
price
guidance.
transparency.
Just tell us.
Yeah.
Basically say, I think it's important for customers to know what options rebates are out there for them
Mhm.
and how they qualify. And so when we do an ad, we got to say, okay, how do we do this and do it so it's acceptable?
Yeah.
What explanations? How do you want the explanations? How do you want how you qualify for, to make it look like you might not, we don't want to believe they qualify for them either, but we want to say you might.
Yeah.
But you pick and choose sort of a menu, which ones, if you're retired military, law enforcement, whatever, you have a Conquest trade-in, which is a non-GM product, for instance, a GM dealership, those all qualify. So, basically, I think the dealers say, fine, tell us how we can do this. That let the customer understand all the potential upside for them, but yet not do it in a fashion that deceive them or mislead them.
I think Tom, I would agree, Tom is right.
Mhm.
It is a murky water. For a couple of reasons. Number one, the manufacturers do push the incentives, their incentives to our website.
Yeah.
And although we have a little flexibility, they predominantly, because we're required to use their website.
Yeah.
They require that they push all that information to us. So I agree with Tom, it is, just tell us what to do and we'll do it.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah.
But the other part that I'm a little confused is, it seems to me like we've got three different agencies now involved in this.
Yeah.
And once, of course, the feds and then locally with the Attorney General's office and now your office. So I guess personally, I can't speak for the New Car Dealers Association, but I can say personally, I'm kind of confused.
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
Yeah, so I will say we meet with OAG every month to talk about specifically, motor dealer related issues. And both of us are pretty much in lockstep in how we view all these issues. They enforce the Deceptive Consumer Sales Act. We enforce 932 with respect to misleading and deceptive advertising is the term. They view.
So that's clear. You each know which one you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's similar with the FTC, obviously we don't have that kind of communication with the FTC, they don't have time for little less. But from what we've heard them say publicly, they view, and they enforce the federal FTC Act, which is similar to the state level DCSA, which is what OAG enforces, which is almost similar to what we do just in the motor vehicle realm, because the DCSA is about all deceptive consumer sales, not just motor vehicles. But they have a division or a part of their office at OAG that just focuses on motor vehicle issues. So we are on the same page as them as far as I know. They will actually litigate against dealers, and you might have heard about them doing this in the past. We typically aren't going to go that route. We're going to, when it's come up for us, we send a letter to the dealer saying, hey, here's how you should be doing it. To your point, Tom, and then I think each time we've done it so far, they've corrected it within, 48 hours of receipt, and it's been fine in the end. And that's sort of the plan for enforcement on this. If you're concerned about that, is basically following that path where if we identify an issue, whether it's through a complaint or whatever, we're going to identify the issues. We're going to lay it out for the dealer. It's not an enforcement action formally. It doesn't go on our website, but says, hey, here's how we view your advertising or this particular aspect of the advertising, take a look at it and try and fix it. So we're very open to dialogue.
So the Secretary of State's office is really more focused on the advertising prices. Is that correct?
Yeah. Which I think is true of the other agencies as well. The idea is we want to baseline, the fundamental idea of this conversation is that the advertised price, a customer has to be able to walk in and potentially purchase the vehicle at the advertised price, ignoring, potential add-ons and insurance and things like that.
Trade-ins.
Yeah, yeah. So the idea is if the advertised price, if the big bold price on a vehicle is 45,126, I should be able to go in there and, in theory, cut you a check for 45,126 and walk out with the keys of the car. That doesn't prevent.
Not necessarily. Because what about sales tax? How's that played?
Well, okay, fair. Sales tax is government fees are separate, which is why the dock fee is also kind of separate. The dock fee has its own specific carve out in the statute that says it just has to be advertised, alongside, or it could be included, but it could also be near the original one. So that's separate. Government fees and taxes are also separate. So, sales tax, wheel tax, the $15 title fee, none of that stuff has to go in there.
Okay.
So state government fees and the dock fee are sort of separate.
I think the key would be get us a proposed set of guidelines on how. I mean, the stickiest issue is gonna be when we have these multiple rebates, and like he says, GM they have access to our inventory, they will push these ads on our website, and so we have to figure out a way to protect ourselves, and how do we itemize that, how do we explain that, how do we do that satisfies your because GM has to say, you buy the car for this, includes certain local offers or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, what is that,
Yeah.
right? That's like 4 different rebates so how do we get there? And the easiest way to do it is send it out 90 days ahead of time and say, what do y'all think? And you'll get comments back.
Yeah.
From Marty or whoever saying, hey, this is some of the things we have to deal with from the manufacturer side.
Yeah.
So how do we comply with what they're doing and with what you want?
Yeah, and to your point, Tom, we are, that's sort of the next step after I want to talk to you guys first, and then, the next step is to go to the independent folks and Marty, the franchise dealers, and get their feedback as well.
The biggest challenge for us is the rebate issues. I mean, I think we all disclose dock fees, we all do that now, but the biggest thing is when you have 4 or 5 rebates on a particular car. And not everybody can qualify for all of them, some will qualify for part of them, how do we deal with that situation? Partly to help the customer understand what is available. And how do we make it easy for them to understand what they do qualify for before they show up and say, okay, I understand, here's my price based on the 3 rebates I get.
Okay. Yeah, so,
Do you have any add to that? That would be great.
yeah, I think, Mark, to your point, it'd be a good thing, because I don't think we address it in here specifically, and it's something that I think was worth adding, specifically addressing the state government fees question, and adding guidance to that specifically, and then, making it, giving more examples. Good advertising.
Right.
Yeah,
I think the Attorney General does spell that out, as I remember.
they have a similar document I've seen floating around. I'm not sure how up to date it is. It's certainly something we'll work with them on, before this actually goes live, so to say.
Cool.
So for
Sounds good.
clarification, you don't expect any legislative action on this. This is a guidance document. Does this, is this an indicator this is something your office is looking at enforcing on more closely?
Yeah.
In the coming year?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me take a step back on that. Secretary mentioned that we're currently being slammed by complaints. We're up like 25% year over year, and we've got, 10 field examiners for the entire state. So our business will still largely be, if not entirely, complaint driven. But if a consumer is telling us this, and we've had a few come in where they've actually got screenshots of the advertisement and basically the whole case for us. The idea generally is this is how we've always thought about these issues. This is how we've always looked at these issues, and how we have enforced them in the past. We wanted to give, to Mark and Tom's point, an example, better, clearer guidance to say, hey, if you guys have questions, check this out. If you still got questions, because one thing we've always done is if a dealer has a question for us on whether or not an advertisement is okay, they can come to us and ask us. We'll tell them our view of it. Now, it's not legal advice, but we can tell them what we think about it as an initial pass. So yeah, we already have the statute as far as I'm concerned is already in place. This is just how we interpret the statute.
Yeah. And you noted the federal law is sort of mirrors, it sounds like Indiana's. Do you know if the actions you're contemplating here match generally what you're hearing of what the federal enforcement looks like?
So Yes, to a degree. The only thing we know for sure that they've done in this arena in the last year is these letters that they sent out in March. To the 95 dealership groups. I suspect. I guess ultimately, I mean, the FTC has always, enforced their act against some dealerships. I mean, there was a big settlement earlier this year, from a longstanding case out of Illinois, I think. With the FTC to the tune of like, 10 million, $15 million or something for, decades worth of false advertising. So they've always gone after these cases. Based on what we've heard from the FTC, I don't think they expected the amount of attention they got when they sent out these letters. And a lot of the panic that hit the room in the industry, when these went out. And so they've been slammed with all these questions and stuff. So yes, I think the idea from the FTC is that they will also be saying, hey, give them a chance to fix it, remedy the situation before we take any actual, litigation steps or anything like that.
No, I think it's helpful. And from the OEM perspective, having at least 50 jurisdictions in the US, right, that most are doing business with.
Yeah.
Consistency is helpful because they're interested, right, in compliance. That's certainly a priority. But making sure that, if it meets out your and your office's intention of protecting consumers in the way that you're intending to do, as much as we can align.
Yeah.
With what other jurisdictions are doing, it eases compliance, right? Which is good for everyone. So I think appreciate the eye you guys are putting toward sort of what's happening in other levels.
Well, and don't quote me on this, I guess, but I'm pretty sure that the DCSA, which is similar to what our statute says, Indiana DCSA is based on the language of the FTC Act, which is like sort of what a lot of states base their own state level consumer sales acts on. It's sort of model language, if you will. So I think most enforcing agencies are probably aligned on a lot of these issues. Now, if we start hearing that we're way out left field on something, as always, we'll go back and look at it. But we talk to folks from other jurisdictions on a regular basis, and we'll certainly, continue the conversation with them on this as this evolves towards hopefully becoming a finalized policy.
I have a question. Of the 525 complaints by the so far, what's your number one complaint? Your number one
Title delivery.
title delivery.
Yeah, it's always like 65 to
But
70%.
that's usually the finance company or the individual. It's not the dealer, because if Mark or Tom or one of my customers buys a car and repossesses or something for $10,000, pay a $200 buy fee, they got 10 to in the car. The customer wants to get paid for the time. The ones that I see, usually it's from a death, a divorce, or they lost the title. That's about it.
Yeah. Payoffs.
Yeah, the payout, or maybe even a second lien.
Yeah.
But you figure that if we sell 500 cars a week, and we got maybe 3 or 4 a month, or difficult. I don't have a title problem really getting titles, but title, is that a certain dealer though? That just one certain dealer? Is it a used car dealer, a new car dealer?
Yeah, so there's been a couple instances where a couple major dealers went out of business earlier this year that led to suddenly, without correctly winding down their business.
I'm familiar with one of them. Big.
Yeah, certainly you are. That triggered a lot of complaints, but we've even removed those complaints from the total that we've gotten, and we're still up 15% year over year. It's impossible to say, and everything else is just like, it's the same, the percentages don't really change. Like, it's still roughly the same percentage of title delivery,
Right.
roughly the same percentage of advertising, whatever. Each category is roughly the same. There's just more of that, which tells me, well, doesn't tell me anything, but my suspicion is that people just know about us more than maybe they used to. Advertising and being at the state fair and doing all these things to reach out to the communities. So people are just more aware of us as a division and us as the secretary as an office to say, hey, I don't like something about my car buying experience or whatever. I know I can go to this agency and they can try and resolve the issue for me. I hope it's that people just know about us, rather than anything nefarious or anything like that. But yeah, we're still seeing an uptick year over year, and it's been going on since November at this point.
And I will add that that was one legislative proposal that we had this year, extending the title delivery process by 15 days.
That would be very helpful, because with all the consolidations we've had.
Yeah.
You know, somebody trades in a car, there's a payoff, we mail a check to Cleveland,
You better certify it.
and we
You
just
better
don't,
certify it.
and they just don't. Have any urgency.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes, believe it or not, that's all, 90% of the title issues are due to payoffs.
Yeah.
The other 10% are, the couple gets divorced, the wife won't sign off on the title, because he's got a girlfriend and. Or somebody died and we gotta have a death certificate, and those are the rare issues with getting a title, but most of them are our trouble after we paid to get a payoff. From, and it might be, get a title after we pay it off, and it might be a bank in New York, it might be a bank in Michigan, it might be. But those are the biggest issues that we face.
And that was
Still
an,
dealing with the human element though. See, that's the point.
that was another one that was not able to move forward because of fiscal reasons. It would have required a recommit to Ways and Means, and with the short session that we had last year,
Right.
there just wasn't enough time for two committee hearings on that bill. So obviously we had to take that out. But yeah, the
You know what's
BMV
interesting,
had a fiscal with the fines that they
95% of the customers say, I want the car, but my paper plate ran out,
Yeah.
or. Most of them transfer a plate, and but they just want, they want the car, and they understand. We're trying to get the title, but it's just a matter of getting that from the institution
Mhm.
that has the title, lien on title.
Yeah, and one thing, and I don't know if this is new or.
Because you can't wire those funds, you have to mail a check.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a new phenomenon or something that the banks are doing more. It's just random noise that we're hearing more is folks that don't get the titles are starting to get static from the banks, their lenders, to increase their rates to refinance the deal at a higher rate because the banks don't have the title yet for the purchasers.
Hmm.
And
We've not had, so most of our come through us, and the banks talk to us, and we tell them what the issue is, and I've not had any of that.
the ones we've heard, I think, are on the independent side,
Right,
almost exclusively, so
Right,
it's
customers
less likely with
doing it
in-house
themselves.
financing, I would imagine, yeah. But it's something that's come up, I mean, not just anecdotally, I've heard it 4 or 5 times in the last couple of weeks, and I don't think it's been 5 times in the last 2 years I've heard about it happening, so. I get, if I'm a consumer and I got the bank on the horn telling me I'm gonna raise your interest by a point or whatever, like I'm gonna panic and figure out what's going on, so. To Keegan's point, we tried, it wasn't a fiscal on our end, it was a fiscal on BMV's end, it's not like it was the fines that we were gonna lose, that was our concern. Our concern is always, making sure, just making
well,
better
once,
deals.
hopefully, with electronic titling. At some point, which I've been banging on for 10 years.
Yeah.
Once we get it universal, that will help immensely, because we still have this piece of paper.
Yep.
That can get lost in the mail, it can get lost at home. There's just all these issues, so. Anything electronic would help, because we can transfer the money, get the payoff, they can transfer it back and say it's okay, it's all electronic. But as long as we're doing it with paper, and we can't wire transfer money to pay off the title, we have to send a check. And they say, well, the title's in the mail, and they don't speed it up, they just send a regular mail, I mean, it's just.
No, I understand it.
And Tom's right. I mean, when we send our payoff, we've resulted now to FedEx. Because we can track it, and it's more expensive, but at least we know it gets there. But then they snail mail us the titles. God only knows.
Your mailbox,
Yeah.
and I've had mail stolen, I mean.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
It really
So anyway,
is.
however you can help. 90% of the people are trying to get the customer title, and it's not because the issues that you want to prevent, or when somebody. Is floating deals and doesn't have the cash to pay the title off,
Mhm.
and they've got a little pyramid scheme going. Those are the ones you want to shut off, not because the mom died and the husband can't get the title because they're both on it. I mean, it's.
No, I get it, and that's, we had these conversations before the session last year, and, it was. As much as an advocate I've been for keeping the 31 days, I think the realities of the world now are just that. It's time,
I
especially.
think
I mean,
with
for me,
technology, it should get shorter.
You would
right?
think, but there's just more, especially it seems like a lot of it drives from interstate titles, when the
Right.
titles, like I said, a bank in Ohio, it's an Ohio title, or buying it from an auction that's online, and you're, getting it from New Jersey, like.
Right.
The example I always talk about, because I'm pretty sure it's true. By statute, I think the Illinois title deadline is 60 days, but their DMV tells you they're not gonna get it done in less than 90. So, which seems like a bit of an issue, but hey, that's Illinois for you. So,
The 15 days would be, 45 days would be immensely helpful.
That would help.
It's not gonna solve all the problems, but
well, it's
I
just
mean,
a
we've
lot.
actually told people when we're waiting on a title from GM Financial or somebody, file a complaint against us so you can get another temporary plate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we have to have them complain to you about us, so we can get another temporary plate, which I think is sort of backwards way to do it, but, anyways, fix it, we'll be happy.
Yeah, and so just to sort of put a bow on this conversation on the policy for now, I heard your two guys' comments. We'll make some tweaks, we'll recirculate to the group.
Get us some
We'll also
guidelines.
Talk to Marty and
Yeah.
to IATA.
Yeah, get us some guidelines and then we'll compare them to what some of us have multiple manufacturers. We'll compare them across the manufacturer lines and say, yeah, this works with what they force us to do.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to help you figure out how to make it
Okay.
work as best
So
possible.
we will.
Rachel, does this give you guys any heartburn? I couldn't
Looking
tell.
at- I represent one OEM. I'm looking at tape for engineering.
I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you don't mind, Matt Norris with Creek Wall.
I might be sitting up here just because just so I can pick it up on the web.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, Matt Norris with Creed Vault, representing Alliance for Automotive and Alliance for Automotive Innovation. I don't have a lot of background in this area. I'm aware of the FTC letters that went out, and the only information I was given by my contact was that at the national level, that the dealers and manufacturers are talking about these issues, but I really don't have much perspective. Certainly what Rachel had to say in terms of consistency across jurisdictions would be important for us, so we don't have 50 different ways of doing this, but certainly appreciate the comments from Mr. Kelly as well, that, you know, he wants to be able to abide by whatever parameters you guys put together and make sure it works with the information he's given from the manufacturer. So I'll just say certainly want to be part of the conversations going forward and happy to find something that works for everyone.
So, yeah, like I said, part of an evolving conversation is sort of just the first step, so.
And just get some guidelines out and you'll give feedback, I promise you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, you bet.
Next, I wanted to mention a little bit about sort of an exciting development in the last 6 months. About a year ago, we signed an MOU with the BMV to obtain some data related to private party sales. Particularly with the idea that any private party that's transferred more than 12 vehicles out of their name in a calendar year. With the idea being that these people are effectively dealers without licenses. After going back and forth for several months, we actually did get some data from them that actually seems extremely useful. We got a list of about 80 folks that sold
80?
sold more than 12 vehicles in calendar year 25. So we're looking at that now and sort of going through it and making sure it's all accurate and making sure we can actually act on any of the data BMV gave us. So it's something we're looking at because we know curb stoning is a big deal and it's always something that's in the back of every dealer's mind, but yeah, so we're excited. Look for those stations.
We had something in place for this.
We get some data. We've historically always gotten some data from BMV related to sales, but it just wasn't good data. I don't think that
Wasn't there something about your lot had to be paved or?
They're not even at the lot, they're in another yard.
they're, yeah, exactly. Ones we've seen are folks that, yes.
Asking for a license, they don't even have a license.
They buy a car, they paid sales tax on it, they resell it.
Exactly.
I see.
They just reassign the title without.
They get,
actually
yeah,
going
they're actually getting the
forward.
title in their personal names and then just selling it as a private party sale. So they're never even on our radar as a dealer. They never come to us for an application. So they don't have to meet any, well, they should have to meet the requirements, but they're actively not. So we are, I think there's probably about 20 folks that are over 25, that did over 25 in 2025. And so, you know, we're going to issue cease and desist to those folks. And see where that takes us, but just a quick update on that.
I got a question, not to look the system, but I got a strange question. Let's say a guy wins a lottery.
Hmm.
And he's got $5 million. He wants to buy and sell cars. I mean, how can we stop that guy from wanting to buy it? As long as he's paying sales tax and dock fees. I mean, you know what I mean? As long as he's not a drug dealer or a, you know, or a money scammer or something, you know, or crooked. I mean, how can you stop that guy from doing that? How do you police that? If a guy's a taxpayer and he's wealthy and he can afford to do that, I don't know, I'd like to do that. I mean, to me, it'd be unconstitutional, but as long as he's, I mean, in other words, if you go, you have a credit card that's good for 5,000, if you want to go to the grocery store and spend $1,000 a week at the grocery store, how can you stop the guy from buying something? As long as he's paying as long as he's paying his tax, he's a taxpayer. You know what I mean? And clean, I mean, I'm just saying,
Well, we don't,
how are you gonna police that?
yeah, it doesn't, you can buy as many cars as you want. You don't have to be a dealer. If you want to buy 100 cars because you struck the lottery, by all means. We only step in when you're selling them. And so if you're looking to sell 100 cars at a time, that makes you a dealer because you sold more than 12.
Well, that'd be a
In a
full-time
12-month
job,
span.
I can tell you that.
Exactly. And you know, there are situations where like a car collector passes away and they just are auctioning off his cars. Then you go to the auction company does the sale for you. So there's ways to dispose of large number of vehicles at a time without, you know, as one-offs basically, without having to have a dealer license.
These folks are just partly just trying to circumvent the dealer guidelines.
Well, they're.
I'm sure they'll
doing
say-
it- they're doing it for a living, then that's different.
Yeah, and that's, you know, there's a couple of them that are over 80 and they're just doing it as a business.
Wow. Yeah,
They'll probably say they didn't know there were requirements associated with it. This is just what they do in their spare time. But that doesn't matter what the law says. The law says you sell more than 12 in a 12-month period, you're a dealer and you have to abide by our rules and laws. So it's just like any other unlicensed dealer. It's, you know, we just now have a much better insight
Well, that's
into
interesting
who
information.
those people are. Yeah, it is. It actually, you know, I'm very pleasantly surprised
Yeah.
on how effective the data's been. So.
Well,
we're
we don't
excited
like
about
that because we have all the exposure. We have the property taxes, the maintenance, the employee, like, and all this, you know what I mean? The guy comes, you know, a lot of times the guy walk in and say.
Plus, we ensure the state collects their fair share of sales.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, we'll give you, can I
Free
have
of
500,
charge.
can I give you $500 cash for a bid badge? No, why am I doing, I'm not mean, but why am I gonna help you for, I've got all the exposure and you're gonna compete against my dealers that support me. You know, if you wanna buy a car, go to the dealership.
Yep.
Tell me all the time. Very,
You
very
got people-
common. Absolutely, they walk in without a bid badge, you have to have 4 deputy sheriffs on site, on Friday, I have to. It's a long story, I go everywhere. So you have to have a bid badge to get in the arena.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's,
And we
you know,
actually stop the guest passes too with Council Eat.
and, you know, similarly, this is not something we can get from BMV, but you know, we run into situations where folks are lending out their license effectively and letting other people go to the auctions.
Oh, that's what we have to have a bid badge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so, you know, we're dealing with a complaint right now where that turned out to be the case. And the complainant bought the car from a guy who's not associated with the dealership. Well, where did he get the car from? Well, he was at an auction that's supposed to be dealer only. Well, how did he get in there? Well, this other dealer let him, you know, use his license to get in there to bid. So so now the other dealer's gonna, and to your point, that's his liability. He's like, that guy go in there and do this. Now that dealer's gonna get strung out because, you know,
you
lended out his license.
You guys got big jobs.
Hey, we made progress. I remember it used to be 150 dealers in one warehouse.
Yeah.
We've cracked down hard on that. Similar, you know, on that note, actually, not related to the curbstoning thing, but you guys may have seen, but Wisconsin actually also just got rid of their wholesaling license.
As of when?
I think March or April.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so those licenses are no longer valid, similar to how Indiana got rid of wholesaling some years back. They followed, I think, almost the identical process where they've kicked out all their wholesalers. We have a list, maybe we should actually publicize it, but of the names of the Wisconsin dealers that are no longer valid in Wisconsin.
Because we have a lot of dealers, we have 25 or 30 that come to the auction, that have wholesale licenses out of Wisconsin. They actually have a license. Glad you told me that. 'Cause
Yeah.
We sure weren't, we sure didn't know it.
And you know, we have gotten inquiries from folks trying to get licenses here that are basically refugees from the Wisconsin crackdown, similar to how I think they went to Wisconsin when we shut them
When we
down 2
throw
years
something
ago.
down.
Now they're trying to come back.
They'll probably go to a different state now.
Yeah, they'll go somewhere else. But I think, I don't know if there's any other states around us that have wholesale license. Michigan might, but I don't know. Something we should probably look at, but.
Well, Auction Access polices that for us. They're actually,
Okay.
they built that format. It's like a credit card. If you don't have an Auction Access auction access number, you can't do that as
Oh, it's
in the
okay.
auction. I mean, in decent size auction.
Yeah.
You have to have, it's like a MasterCard. You have to have that photo ID on everything. So they obviously, if they don't have a license, auction access will bar them immediately and then they won't be able to get a bid badge.
Interesting. It's a good service to have.
Yeah.
I think that's everything we had on the agenda. I wanted to talk a little bit about modernization, which the secretary touched on. We're still working through the individual processes and making sure it carries over to the new system, but a couple of the highlights we're looking at, currently the goal is that everything that's currently a paper application, so license plate increases, change of address, change of ownership, all those fun things. All those will be online now, so you can do them through the dealer portal. We're going to get away from paper licenses and just give you guys PDFs similar to how you print off NRM tags. So it does two things. One, if you lose it, you can just print off a new one. And two, it should speed up the buy-sell process, the closing date at some level, because you'll get the license as soon as the license application is approved, it'll just generate in the system for you. So we've gotten a lot of complaints in the past about, well, he'd have the license in hand before we could close. And so that should,
You guys have improved your website a lot, so thank you.
thank you.
It's really good. It's easy.
Much better.
This will be a completely refreshed experience, where everything should be a lot more user friendly. And the big thing for me personally is that the notices that we send out will no longer be in all caps.
I'm gonna yell at you anymore.
We're not gonna yell at you anymore via email.
Good at all caps. Pay
Well, if she's
attention,
doing it voluntarily,
pay attention, 5 exclamation points.
Yeah.
I got it. Get it.
yeah,
That's a good
sometimes we'll use them, and this way we'll only bust them out when, it's appropriate, instead of doing it on every single communication. And then the secretary mentioned some discussions we're engaging with. We're actually meeting tomorrow with DOR and BMV to talk about the Montana issue. DOR this past legislative session made some significant changes to their enforcement statutes, which gives them, it basically creates an assumption under the, a presumption under the law that if you are Indiana resident or you have an LLC that's based in another state, but you reside as the only principal member in Indiana, you should be paying Indiana sales tax, is effectively the consequence of the statute. That's not verbatim, but that's my understanding of how it's going to work. Basically saying the law is now going to say you have to prove to us that you're actually a valid Montana LLC and not just an Indiana resident who on paper created a Montana LLC to avoid our sales tax.
So I just saw an ad this morning from Montana.
Yep.
No fees, you buy one plate, one time, it's good forever.
Yeah, when you cross the border,
$300 or something for this plate.
Wow.
there
You
are
got that website? I'm just kidding.
there are billboards you see as you go into Montana, apparently, that says, create your LLC for $1. And
Wow.
it's a known business up there, and it's,
California just launched a huge, I don't want to call it sting operation, but mostly people are buying expensive cars.
Yep.
They won't pay sales tax on 500,000 or whatever.
Yep.
But I mean, I see them around Fort Wayne quite a bit. I'm not gonna tell you who they are. They're friends of mine, but at the time it was legal, right? But it's certainly a way to avoid sales tax in the state of Indiana.
yeah, and the California case was built on license plate readers. So, the California Highway Patrol had license plate readers on patrol cars. As they would drive them, they would scan all the license plates and they would flag anything from Montana and they would look into it and it's a great way to find everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know that Indiana is going to go that route because I don't know if we can afford license plate readers, but I'm interested to see how this develops because I know this has been a topic for you guys in the last few meetings. And so we're looking forward to the discussion with DOR and how we can help.
It doesn't harm us, it just take money out of the state.
Exactly.
Dollars and
Exactly. So. And with that, any discussion items from the group?
June 19th, there you go,
Yes.
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Well, I wanted to say something real quick, Tom and Mark, real quick. So as you can see, I have a great team around me. These guys are doing a great job. They just make me look good. But what I tell you this, when I visit, franchise owners like you both, all across the 92 counties, and I tell Jerry and Kagan this when I come back to the office, because that every single feedback that I get from your industry is basically, you guys are active. You guys come and visit us. You're the first Secretary of State who show up into our dealership. You send your staff members. So we we've been very, very active with your industry. And I pass that on to Mari Murphy. Is he here? Well, I don't see him, but again, also with the independent auto, you guys are here. I mean, our job here is, as I said, since day one, is to be the bridge and work with all of you. Because at the end of the day, as Rachel said, it's all about Hoosier consumers. It's not even about our office or you guys. It's protecting Hoosier consumers. So I am proud to tell you that we have the best team in state government is here. They're out there. I'm out there. You know, even on Saturdays. You know, you guys work on Saturdays. And we're out there. Sometimes we get those phone calls and I hear from Kyle and Sean, hey, there are some things going on that we need to help them out. You know, sometimes the system is down. You know, obviously we're not perfect. And we quickly, you know, get to work for you guys to find solutions, even on weekends, on Saturdays, when you guys are obviously busy on that day. So I'm proud of my team. I am proud of the Secretary of State's office. And I know you guys are able to see our work. So let's keep up the good work, all of us, for our Hoosier consumers. So thank you all.
I have a story that, I don't know, has any bearing on your office at all. I've been telling everybody about it because it's just so freaky scary to me. And I'll take 60 seconds to tell the story. We purchased 2 Escalades for the Manheim auction. We hired a broker to pick the Escalades up. A person, trailer, went to Manheim in Pennsylvania and picked up, had the gate pass, had all the credentials they need to have, gave it to the auction released both Escalades to them, took off. An hour later, the real broker showed up. And said, here, I'm here to pick up those cars for Houston. He said, they're gone. They've been gone an hour or so. Long story short, the criminal thief, scammed the brokers, we call it job board, I guess. I'm not real familiar with that. It's a big scam that's going on. So
Trust me, it's gone all over the country.
well, and as we find out, New York, track these vehicles, one still had the OnStar system hooked up, so we're able to track, they were able to track it. And they both went to New York. Now, where they are now, we don't know, but the New York State Police said this is a huge industry right now. And they're doing this. And so, you know, we have some insurance that will help cover us on that. Obviously, we're hoping they go against the broker that we hired because he's the one that got scammed. His electronic system got scammed, but we talk about all the electronics, which is good. We like electronics and the speed is good, but it is.
You gotta really work to ensure they're picking the car up, who's picking it up. It's crazy, but yeah.
Well, one way to cure all that is to have, if you have a business, if it's a pipe stand, or if you own Toyota, Motor Credit, or Subaru, you better have a whole bunch of firewalls. So nobody can get in and hack you, because I'm not gonna mention who. You guys know a lot of people, heavyweights in this town and city have been hacked and they got held up. I'm sure you're aware of that, but it's bad. And for people, a very close friend of mine, he's very, the success of these guys. These guys are brilliant. That's all they do. They get in the morning and they start hacking people. And you gotta watch these emails you get. But the key is several, I'm not gonna tell you how, but you have to have several firewalls. And they'll never get to you. 8, 10 firewalls, I'm serious.
Well, and
That's how to prevent it.
Yeah, but in this case, unfortunately, the person who's doing business.
Oh, yeah, right.
It wasn't his own personal driver,
yeah, I mean, that's.
Oh, no, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. It was.
Yeah, they got me
but
hired.
he
Yeah,
had some
they
guy
yeah, they
that
hacked it, yeah.
transported
Yeah.
their sites.
Yeah.
We use sites that make sure, we try to do them all ourselves, but some we don't, but there's sites that rate certain companies.
Yeah.
And we just only do business with the very, very best, because they'll insure it.
I'm
they'll
sure they
insure
came
it.
after you, Tom.
Huh?
You probably can't talk, I'm sure they came after you, these
I haven't
hackers.
watched any cars, thank God, so.
These
Yeah,
hackers,
it's all on.
they get your system, they get all your emails and passwords and everything. I mean, you can say Chase Bank, you think, man, this is real. And it's like, they're brilliant. They are.
Yes.
They gotta figure it out. I'm telling you, what, they're dangerous.
In case you get that.
Well, and what, you know,
True.
I haven't heard about that happening. That's certainly alarming. What we have heard about and read about nationally, but also had gotten complaints about in the last couple of months is folks creating fake websites for existing dealers that don't have an online presence. So particularly, you know, usually smaller, older dealerships that don't do a lot of, you know, business outside the county, let alone outside the state. But, you know, they have a valid dealer license, they've been around a long time, someone will go in and create a website for this dealership that looks extremely legitimate. I mean, you know, it wouldn't be able to tell it from, you know, any other regular dealership for a dealer, or any other website for a dealer. And someone will wire money to them because they found the car that they wanted and dreamed up for the right price. They'll get someone on the phone, they'll have, you know, we've seen I mean, when I first started, this was bare bones, like how could anyone fall for this? Now it's so sophisticated with the use of voice AI.
AI, it's gonna get worse, trust me.
And people had wired $50,000 to who knows where it actually ended up, but they thought they were, and then all of a sudden, the actual legitimate dealer is getting calls and people showing up at their door demanding to get the car that they thought they purchased for 50 grand. The guy's like, I don't have any idea. So, you know, we've sent takedown requests to hosts, domain hosts. You know, we try to do what we can, but you
It's gonna
know,
get worse.
it's
AI
financial
is-
statement.
He's right. It's dangerous. It's scary.
I didn't mean to make the meeting longer, but I just wanted you guys to know that some of the scams are out there like just.
Well, and-
AI, and the AI can take you and make you talk to a customer and say you're gonna do something, it's not you, and customers believe it. I mean, it's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we've seen, and it's been a conversation.
It's gonna get worse, too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just catching up to the bad guys.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna run. Thank you.
Thank you all.
We don't have to formally adjourn the meeting because we're really not.
Great job, guys.
All right.
Have a box on your way out.
Yeah, grab a box of sandwich.
Thank you.